Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rodriguez, Fordham Law School's Center on National Security has released a report on ISIS prosecutions in the United States. And they looked at all ISIS prosecutions in the United States and determined that of those involved in that, 18% were refugees or asylees. Shouldn't that be of enormous concern to all of us?
Without a doubt, yes.
I mean, isn't that a very big percentage?
No, and
It's not a big percentage.
No. I didn't get to say what I was about to say.
My question is, isn't that a very big percentage, 18%?
1% would be a big percentage.
Okay.
This is an area of significant concern.
Yes. Now, a few minutes ago, you touted and made a big deal in your testimony, or perhaps in response to a question, that since 9/11, there has been no person who came in as an adult in the refugee program who was convicted of a violent terrorist offense. Now, that's great, but that was a very carefully crafted statement. There are many people who came in as an adults in the refugee program who have been convicted of terrorist offenses, correct?
That is correct.
Now, we're all happy that those plots were disrupted, but in terms of security threats possibly posed by the refugee program, those cases are darn relevant, aren't they? Just as relevant as a successful violent attack?
Oh, sure they are, and they inform a number of the improvements that we've made over the years. Many of those cases involve admissions that took place a while ago. And even in the last 4 to 5 years, there have been significant changes in the way that we vet refugees that makes a difference.
So just to clarify your earlier statement, again, you touted, nobody came in through the refugee program as an adult who committed a violent act, but there sure were those who came in who were convicted of terrorist offenses.
I was transparent about that. That's correct.
Well, you're only transparent about it once that distinction.
No, I said it in my opening. I said it in my opening remarks. I said it in my opening remarks.
Have you personally reviewed all of those cases? Because again, as the chair said, we've asked for the total number, and your department and other agencies have been unable to give us a number. Have you personally reviewed that universe of cases, both with regard to the total number and the specific circumstances, perhaps common threads of those cases?
I can't tell you that I have. I can tell you two things. One, I've reviewed a lot of cases, and certainly as new cases have arisen in recent years, I become immediately familiar with the facts of those cases. And one of the things that we do collectively in our agency is look at anything improvements that may be indicated by the circumstances in those cases.
Shouldn't you know the total number of that universe?
Perhaps we know it as an agency. I have some rough sense of the number. I don't specifically know the number.
I've asked that question for months. We have not gotten a straight response. Why is that?
I honestly don't know. I'm prepared to work with you to make sure you get the answers you're looking for.
You're in charge of the program. It seems to me you should darn well know what the number is, and it seems to me you should review those cases, all of those cases, to look for common threads. Now, as been mentioned earlier, FBI Director Comey has testified that the federal government does not have the ability to conduct thorough background checks on all of the Syrian refugees being let in. Do any of the witnesses here disagree with that?
I believe that statement has been vastly overread. I'd like to read another statement by Director Comey made before the House Committee on Homeland Security back in the summer. And I think, and this was referring to both his testimony and also testimony by the Director of National Intelligence and the head of the NCTC. I think what all three of us said when we last talked about this together is we were comparing our ability to vet Iraqi refugees as opposed to Syrian refugees. We've made great progress, and we've made even more progress at getting better at knowing what we know about anybody who was looking to come to the United States.
I
So
bel-
that is the full scope of what.
I believe Director Comey's point was that in the vast number of these cases of Syrian refugees, there is no information in our database, if you will, from independent sources. Isn't that correct? Isn't it true that in the great majority of cases, the test is basically the interview with them, checking that against what you know of the area where they have testified they were, not any third-party sources?
In other words, that's true. We don't have access for somebody who has not, for whatever reason, appeared in our intelligence databases. I think that's a fair statement.
So that was clearly the point of Director Comey's testimony when he said we don't have the ability to conduct thorough background checks. We can only, quote, we can only query against that which we have collected, close quote. In the vast majority of Syrian cases, that's nothing, correct?
Well, in part because we would hope that a lot of those folks are not coming up on intelligence databases at all. In other words, that they are, in fact, this has been my observation meeting them, they are law-abiding, working people trying to come here and find a better life. That's why they would not appear in those kinds of databases.
But you do admit that there are terrorists who are not on those databases.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't guarantee that every single terrorist is in those databases. What I can tell you is that we have identified.
Let's back up. We can all agree. Isn't it clear that every single terrorist is not on those databases? Isn't that a virtual certainty?
I think that's true regardless of what country they're coming from.
Correct.
and
That's
how
the
they're
whole
coming
point.
here, and in fact, whether they're born in the United States and to begin with. The point that I am making, first of all, I would not dismiss the interview process so quickly and easily. These are highly trained officers, intensely briefed on country conditions. But the track record also speaks for itself. Significant numbers of people have been denied because of what is in those databases, and is in fact a high priority of government to develop as much and as robust information as we can about these organizations.
Part of the track record, terrorist prosecutions of folks who came in through the refugee program?
Certainly, that's without a doubt, that's something that has occurred. Yes.
Thank you.